In January of 1945, as the Red Army closed in from the east, Hermann Göring gave the order to blow up his own estate. Carinhall had held more than 1,000 paintings and sculptures, the largest private art collection built by any man in the Third Reich. What came next was chaos. A train loaded with the collection vanished into the hills near Berchtesgaden, and pieces of it have never surfaced again. This is the story of the treasures Göring stole that were never found. The Amber Room. Before the war, the Amber Room was one of the most stunning spaces in Europe, an entire chamber built from carved sheets of amber backed with gold leaf. Standing inside the Catherine Palace outside Leningrad, in 1941, German soldiers tore the room from its walls, packed the amber panels into 27 crates, and shipped them west to Königsberg. There, the room was rebuilt inside the city's castle museum and put on display. It is worth being precise here. The Amber Room was not part of Göring's private hall at Carinhall. It was seized under military order and handed to Erich Koch, the Nazi ruler of East Prussia, a separate branch of the same looting machine Göring helped design and oversee. But no missing Nazi treasure is more famous, and its story belongs at the center of this list. By 1945, Allied bombing raids and the Soviet assault on Königsberg had reduced the castle to ruins. After that, the Amber Room's trail goes cold. Some historians believe it burned in the fires that swept the castle. Others believe the crates were hidden in a bunker or a tunnel somewhere in what was once East Prussia. Neither theory has ever been proven. One real piece did resurface. In 1997, a stone mosaic panel from the room, a scene the Nazis had catalogued as touch and smell, turned up in the city of Bremen. Offered for sale by a man whose father had guarded the original convoy. German investigators confirmed it as genuine, the only confirmed fragment of the Amber Room recovered since the war ended. The room itself, the walls of gold and amber that once stunned an empire, has never been found. The Vermeer that wasn't. In 1943, Hermann Göring acquired a painting he believed was a lost masterpiece by the Dutch master Johannes Vermeer, a religious scene called Christ and the Adulteress. To get it, Göring gave up roughly 150 paintings from his own looted collection, trading real stolen treasure for what he thought was the discovery of a lifetime. The seller was Alois Miedel, a Dutch banker and dealer who had bought the painting from a struggling artist named Han van Meegeren. After the war, American investigators found the painting hanging in Göring's collection and traced it back through Miedel to van Meegeren. Dutch authorities arrested van Meegeren on suspicion of collaborating with the enemy, a crime that could have carried a death sentence. To save himself, van Meegeren admitted the truth. The Vermeer was not a Vermeer at all. He had painted it himself and sold a fake to the second most powerful man in Nazi Germany. The scandal made van Meegeren famous instead of infamous. A forger who had swindled the Reich out of a small fortune in real looted art for a canvas he had aged and cracked in his own studio. The 150 genuine paintings Göring handed over in the trade scattered into the post-war market, and most were never fully traced back to their original Jewish owners. The Carinhall train. By early 1945, Göring knew the war was lost and the Red Army was closing in on his estate north of Berlin. He ordered his staff to load the finest pieces of Carinhall onto a freight train and send them south to Berchtesgaden, the mountain town near Hitler's Alpine retreat. Then he ordered Carinhall itself destroyed, and engineers packed the estate with explosives so the Soviets would find nothing but rubble. The train reached Berchtesgaden and was parked inside a railway tunnel for safety, but the guards assigned to protect it drifted away as the front collapsed, and local villagers swarmed the cars, carrying off crates of schnapps alongside furniture, carpets, and smaller works of art. By the time American soldiers reached the town on the 4th of May, the train had already been opened and picked over. Weeks later, 2 officers from the Allied Art Recovery Unit known as the Monuments Men arrived to search the surrounding hills. They tracked down scattered pieces hidden in nearby houses, barns, and cellars, and gathered what they could recover at a collection point before shipping it on to Munich and Wiesbaden for sorting. A large share of the collection was eventually accounted for through that search, but no full inventory of everything that left Carinhall on that train has ever matched what the Monuments Men actually found, and the gap between the two lists has never been closed. The Gurlitt Hoard. For nearly 70 years, one of the largest caches of Nazi-era art sat behind an ordinary apartment door in Munich, unknown to police, museums, or the family still searching for what they had lost. It belonged to Cornelius Gurlitt, an elderly, reclusive man who lived almost entirely off the paintings he sold one at a time to stay afloat. His father, Hildebrand Gurlitt, had been one of a small number of dealers the Nazi government approved to handle so-called degenerate art, the modern paintings purged from German museums, along with pieces flowing out of occupied France. It is worth being precise here too. The Gurlitt Hoard was not Göring's personal collection. It grew out of the same wartime art market Göring's looting helped fuel, built by a dealer trusted enough to move both Reich-approved and Reich-looted works. The hoard came to light almost by accident. After a routine customs check on a train in 2010, turned up an elderly man carrying an unusually large amount of cash. It led Bavarian investigators to search Gurlitt's Munich apartment in early 2012, where they found more than 1,400 works stacked among newspapers and canned food, including pieces by Monet, Picasso and Rodin. A later search of a second Gurlitt property in Salzburg turned up around 60 more, pushing the total past 1,500. Cornelius Gurlitt died in 2014 and left the entire collection to a museum in Switzerland, a final twist that left provenance researchers still working through the hoard years later. The uncounted thousands. Much of what disappeared into Göring's hands never came from a single dramatic seizure. It came from a bureaucracy, the Einsatzstab Reichsleiter Rosenberg, a Nazi task force built to strip cultural property from Jewish families across occupied Europe, operating mostly out of France. The task force catalogued more than 21,000 individual objects taken from over 200 private collections, then photographed each one and filed it into leather-bound albums for German officials to review. Göring made sure he reviewed them personally. Records show he visited the task force's sorting rooms at the Jeu de Paume Museum in Paris roughly 20 times, walking the galleries before anything was shipped east, choosing the finest paintings for his own walls at Carinhall, before the rest moved on to Hitler's planned museum or the open market. What he did not take himself still numbered in the tens of thousands of objects. Investigators have spent decades trying to reunite that plunder with the families it was stolen from. A modern database, built from the task force's own surviving photographs and paperwork, now tracks more than 40,000 individual objects looted from France and Belgium alone, and roughly half of them have never been returned. Some were destroyed in Allied bombing raids on German storage depots. Some are sitting, unrecognized, in private homes and smaller museums that never checked where a painting on the wall actually came from. Göring never lived to explain where the rest of it went. Convicted of war crimes at Nuremberg, he swallowed a hidden cyanide capsule in his cell in October of 1946, hours before he was due to hang, and he took whatever he still remembered about his empire of stolen beauty with him. What is left behind is a debt no one has finished paying. Historians estimate that roughly 100,000 works of art looted across Nazi-occupied Europe are still missing today, scattered through attics, back rooms, and quiet private sales, waiting for someone to finally ask the right question about where they came from. Thanks for watching. If you like this, you will also enjoy our video, What Happened to the Nazi Leaders' Stolen Fortunes After World War II. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss the next story.